Screw you, countdown clock. You can't tell me what to do.
Except it still says scheduled on my end.
It's still not actually happening.
No, it doesn't say we're live.
Oh, it says live right there.
Mine says scheduled.
Scheduled?
Yeah. I mean,
Tony's
let's just roll with it.
That's weird. Tony, are we live? How many we've been? So we're nearing our anniversary.
Yeah, this is going well.
We're off to a great start, right?
All right. Old Will says we're live.
He says we're here.
I trust him. I don't know how else he would know to say that.
I don't trust him, but yeah, I think is it 4 years now? 5 years.
5.
Yeah,
I think
it's in the next like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So since we're only doing once a month, this has to be our anniversary show.
I mean, sure. Happy anniversary, man.
Happy anniversary. What's 5 years? Leather?
I don't even know how to answer that. The 5th anniversary is leather.
I think it is, right?
The fact that there's an anniversary where the gift is leather. I mean, I guess it's good that it's early. Early, you can really test the boundaries early in the relationship.
Let's see. Maybe it might be wood. That's not. Oh yeah, it's wood.
Oh God. Just the options are really solid.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, welcome to New Comic Book Day Book Club. We got Old Wolf Tony's in the chat. We got Ignacio in the chat, and that's it. There's just 2 people, but
2 quality people.
Yeah, we're here to talk about the books from the month of September. We're gonna highlight a few good indies, a few not so good, and a few kind of middling indies from the month of September. Stuff that we've been reading, noteworthy, notable, and talk them over with you as we want to do. If you haven't seen this show before, welcome. My partner is Alec, White Whale Comics. His link is down below, and we oscillate month to month whose channel we're on, looking back at the books of the month. So expect to be over there in November.
Yeah, I would say though, if you have not watched this show before, how and why did you find it now? I mean, welcome, but
good luck,
or bad.
I mean, you're harsh on us, but I feel like we're a quality program.
Sure. I mean, I don't. If I felt like we had nothing to say, I would have stopped this a long time ago. I'd really driven this off the tracks.
I think there's not a lot of shows that do this, which I think is a fun, deeper dive breakdown beyond just I liked it, I'm gonna get the next issue, but like an interesting discussion around indie books and number ones, issue number ones.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Unlike Greatest Comic Book Show Ever, which concentrated on number 3s,
but did concentrate on a lot of wood. There was a lot of wood on that show as well. Yeah, exactly, Ignacio. Exactly. Wood after 5 years sounds good. I mean,
yeah.
Right?
What more can you ask for?
Well, welcome, Tony. I'm glad you found this channel. I'm glad that you're here, brother Joe.
Subbed.
There you go. He's still like 30 something subs ahead of me. I'm gaining, but slow as I am. So we're specifically going to talk about 3 indies in depth here. We're looking at Vanish from Donnie Cates. We got, I guess it's called True Cult.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got Briar from Christopher Cantwell. We're going to spend a little time on each of those, and at the end, maybe go over a few other odds and ends of books that we may want to mention from the month. Is there one that is either lower enough on your list or high enough on your list that you want to dive into it first from these 3?
We have not pre-discussed this.
No.
I feel like...
Could we ever?
I feel like we have the same order of worst to best.
So do you want to start worst to best?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to grab my worst.
I feel like typically we talk more about the worst books.
Right. Are you ready?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So for me, it's perfect that this is an Image book because it feels like an Image book from 1990.
Yeah, and
that,
not
like,
in a good way, not in
no,
like
in the worst possible
not
way.
in a nostalgic way. Like,
No.
was this on the shelf for 30 years and just got put out?
Yeah, yeah. In the like Wildcats way. Like
Yeah.
I was bored. Yeah. This book, I don't even like the art. Like it's the worst of Ryan Stegman and Donny Cates for me. Like I don't care about any of it.
And for me, like, Ryan Stegman has always kind of been like the modern Image artist. Like, by that I mean he looks like a throwback. His style kind of looks like that old Todd McFarlane style. To me,
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, 100% right there with you.
So the story, for those that don't know, Vanish focuses on the opening sequence is a gentleman getting robbed on a normal looking city street. A superhero kid comes and kind of rescues him, but it all kind of goes sideways when the guy that was getting robbed has like some mental flashback, and then we zip to like the world of magic as it used to be, and a battle between this crazy evil zealot guy and his minions, and they're like magicians of something, and they're trying to like destroy the world. And
basically like a Harry Potter style school.
I mean, I guess. And then there's this guy who's like trying to stop him with all of his students, and they all get annihilated except for the youngest kid who's like, I'm gonna stop this guy by using some magic that helps me get a tool from across the multiverse. And so when all of the good guys are basically killed,
the bad guy can't be harmed by magic.
Yeah,
that was the shtick.
And so while all of his friends are getting killed, our hero is getting this magic weapon. The magic weapon is a gun, and he pops a cap in the guy. Just absolutely drops his ass. And then feels the need to go on a vengeance kick of like, I need to kill all that guy's minions and all of his followers, and I'm going to find them all. Cut back to where we are now, and the superheroes in this future universe are actually all just the minions of this guy. They're all now old wizards, but they're in disguise as superheroes, which means our character, Vanish, has to become the bad guy, which means Alec gets a villain reveal at the end of this freaking book.
So, yeah. I mean, if there wasn't enough already to dislike.
It was so good. When I got to that page, I was like, this is so freaking perfect that they somehow find a way to do a villain. The whole thing is like showing us the villain and all his minions and all this stuff, but they find some way to still give us a villain reveal on the end of the book.
And obviously the kid is the guy getting mugged.
Yeah, I mean, now he's grown up and become.
I don't mean like obviously in a way that like, oh, they're hiding it. Like, no, like obviously it was going to be, and obviously it is. Like it is.
He kind of is telling the story and jumping back to, yeah.
I know what you might be thinking. That sounds like a whole ass movie. Why is it crammed into one issue? I don't have an answer for that. Like it was so dense with story. Like there was so many beats that were like, I don't know if they're just trying to cram this into if this is an ongoing, it is.
Oh yeah, it definitely has to be.
Absolutely buck wild how much happens in this first issue.
Which
despite it,
yeah,
like we both said, it was boring.
And for me, the bigger frustration is that like it's part and parcel with that issue we've been having where it feels like they want to take issue ones and make them exposition dumps.
Yeah.
And then
to, like bring you into the world.
If you tune into issues 2 and 3, you actually get the story we want to tell right now in this arc. But issue 1 is just going to be wall-to-wall exposition. And It's just
it's
boring.
Like,
it's
it's
boring
like
as hell.
it's like it's a 23-page elevator pitch. It's like, here's what you're going to get out of this story.
Sorry, I realized I should probably put a little. This book we're talking about. We're talking about Vanish.
Yeah, maybe it should vanish.
Poof. Did you like anything about this book at all? Is there anything you liked?
Not really.
Why does his wizard outfit still fit him? It was a kid's medium.
They're magical clothes. They're like the shoes in Back to the Future too. So my only question about the plot, because I really don't care to rehash it any more than we already have,
What's up, Rudy?
is when he kills this kid who turns out to be the old man wizard.
Yeah.
He kind of says, like, you know, oh, we're the good guys now. But are they? Or are they like, is it like a boys scenario where they're not really the good guys, but they're just presenting themselves as the good guys? So is it a villain reveal or is it a anti-hero reveal?
I mean, clearly, yeah, it's the anti-hero, but he calls himself a villain because he's like, you need a villain now. I'll be the villain and I'm going to kill all your asses. Yeah. It's clearly a butcher character, right? It's clearly what he is. He feels the need to go and kill all the superheroes, just like Billy Butcher does. Yeah, TJ, I mean, they have fun covers. I mean, but what do you expect from Cates and Stegman, but like vapid art?
Yeah. But again, like this is like 1 degree away from a Spawn cover.
Right? I was thinking more Shadowhawk, but I get it.
Yeah, sure, Shadowhawk for sure. But to me, like, all of the criticisms that we've had so far, and they are all quite valid. My biggest problem with this book is I don't care about the main character. They don't give you any time to connect with him, even though he's like narrating the story. It's such an exposition dump that we don't get any time to like see him as a person. He's just a storyteller.
And I think they're so busy giving us that kind of, I mean, because again, you start with this random, I'm in an alley typical superhero moment, jump to this huge backstory, which feels like something out of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, where the temple is getting attacked by the villain. But now you got to explain who the villain is, what the temple is, who all these characters are.
Yeah.
Then you got to explain the twist. Oh, the hero's got to use magic. He's got to go get something that's not magic. And so he's doing all that. Then the bad guy shows up, monologues, and kills everybody. Like, it's so many layers of stuff that and the hilarity of it is you're packing that much in and not a single bit of it makes us care in any way about this kid or who is going to be our
protector to the story in any way.
I don't care about any of these things. Like, I'm bored with all of it.
Like, I know we've talked before about, like, or at least I have said, like, oh, you could have taken this issue and stretched it into 3 and it would be a lot better. Right. This is like 2 trades worth of story. Like, this could easily be 12 issues.
But yeah, I mean, for me, it felt like a season of a show.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And you just basically but you're just gonna crash it all in because they want to get to. And so this is what I thought about when I read it. How I wondered if we just threw this book away and read issue 2 as if it were a number 1. Do you think it'd be possible to still like this?
I don't know. Let's try.
I don't want to buy issue 2. But like, it makes me think about how they do this to sell you the idea, right? This is your elevator pitch. But the second issue tends to be willing to take its time more and actually just focus in on a present moment and not, I got to cut to this and I got to cut back to this. And let me give you these characters on the side here. And this is the backstory flashback real quick. And then issue 2s don't seem to dick around with that stuff.
Typically, I would say you're right. I mean, for better or worse, at this point, like, for me, like, they've dug the hole so deep that climbing out of it is going to be tough because, already have this bad taste in my mouth.
Agu, what's up, bud? Good to see you.
Ignacio says, it's a nice experiment, John, and it's your idea, so now you have to do it.
It made me think about certain books I've read recently where I felt like I didn't need this number 1, and issue 2 was so much better. And I mentioned it with Zdarsky's Batman or whatever, where I just felt like issue 2 was better, and I didn't get anything from issue 1. It felt like it was for really dense readers who needed to be babied through the story. It was bad milky. It was bad milky.
And the funny thing is, like we said, you know, it's this just crammed full, like to the brim with crap for a payoff on the last page that's not worth it. Like, again, that could have been the payoff after 6 issues, and it would have been more impactful.
Yeah, if it was the end of the first arc and he chooses to become a supervillain as a way to get to the goal.
Yeah.
Like, what an interesting journey of him getting to that place. I'm the good guy. I'm doing the good thing here. And then at the end, he decides, this is what I really need to be.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Pacing, who cares?
I mean, you're not wrong.
And
the flashback for those 5-6 pages is the biggest frustration for me.
Yeah.
So like my biggest frustration was like, okay, you want to tell me the story where you flip the script on the guy in the alley getting mugged, and you wanted to, cool, save that flashback for its own issue 4, issue 3. Give me that one as its own issue. It reminded me of was it Old Man Hawkeye, where they give me the one issue, and it's like issue 6 in the run, where you show us what happened to the Avengers, like how they all died. But you're wondering about it the whole time. It's the gun you're waiting to go off, right? Chekhov's gun, right?
Yep.
And it's way more interesting. And then when you get to that issue, it has so much weight. You've been just excited to see what happened. And I feel like this was like, no, I'm just going to shove it in here at the beginning and just maybe you'll like it. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, it's like,
I was watching Slim earlier. He is awesome. You guys got to check out his new comic book day haul too. Thanks for coming by, Slim.
Again, like, I hate like beating a dead horse here, but if we got the reveal, to your point, like if it's issue 4 where we get the flashback and find out that these heroes in this world that we've established for 3 issues are actually the bad guys who killed this magic world, all of a sudden then it's like, oh, that means something. But when it's just like basically a throwaway line in just like this pile of miasma.
Aggressively relaxing. It's this one right here, Vanish. It's Vanish. Yeah. It's just one more piece of exposition. It doesn't become a powerful piece of information or a enlightening piece of character. It becomes just more exposition.
Yeah. It's just information.
Yeah, exactly. And it reads like that, like an instruction manual of some kind, right?
Yeah.
So Sov is here. I agree that Kate's can be very overrated, and I have not loved a Kate's book in a long time, like an individual story arc. I am enjoying bits and pieces of like crossover and some of that, but like it's been rough.
But I mean, I forgot what I was going to say there.
You were talking about exposition and shoving in this idea of like the 2 universes and the villains. Who are they becoming heroes?
We've spent a lot of time lately, like kind of dumping on Marvel and DC editorial and saying like they're not doing a good job of helping their storytellers tell the stories the way they should be told. This is an Image book. You have no one to blame but the creators. So this isn't like Marvel telling someone, hey, we need to get to this point of selling the story. by end of issue 1, this is Cates and Stegman saying, yes, this is a good idea.
Right.
And that is concerning.
And have we been unfairly judging editorial when maybe this is the style of modern comic writers, period?
But so maybe I'll still blame editorial, because then it's just the opposite problem. It's not editorial driving the people into that direction. It's editorial not driving them away from that direction.
Great point. Yeah. It's always editorial fault.
Yeah. Screw the editors.
But I mean, at this point, they're kind of like Cates and Stegman are kind of like
Golden Boys.
Yeah. Well, they're like Quentin Tarantino. Nobody's going to say no, right? Nobody's going to be like, hey, Quentin, let's fix that.
I'm sure this book sold very well.
Absolutely.
So who cares? And I'm sure people are going to buy the trade when it comes out. And I'm sure it's going to get optioned.
But never become anything.
Right. So everyone can line their pockets while we weep into the rags of this overprinted book.
The tragedy of paper shortages, because VANISH is actually a thing.
Yeah.
So as you can tell, we're definitely getting issue 2.
Well, right, to review, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'd give it a 4. I'd give it a 4.
Yeah, I was gonna say a 3.5.
There you go. That's
I mean, like, it wasn't unreadable. It wasn't like incomprehensible. It was just boring.
Oh crap! We're influencers.
Oh boy.
Questionable. What is up, bub? Watching for 2 minutes, but I have to go. Trying not to enjoy myself for more than 2 minutes at a time. I mean, I don't want to know about you enjoying yourself. You just have a good time. So yeah, there's VANISH in Image Comics issue number 1, Cates and Stegman. Let's see. Can I guess the second book that you had in mind? So the one that's like middle on the list. You ready?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Hey, I got this cover.
Yeah, me too.
My neighbor's dog is really barking. Yeah, I thought this was a fun cover. And
yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, it gave me some, I don't know, Little Bird vibes or something. Walking through the forest with a ton of blood and like wearing
a big weapon and wearing an animal skin.
Yeah, it looked like an animal fur. Yeah, exactly. So Briar is Christopher Cantwell's retelling of the Sleeping Beauty storyline. Instead of having a prince awaken her, she's kind of left to rot for seemingly a very long time, enough that she looks basically like a skeleton almost when she is awoken.
Yeah,
the spell is broken. The person seems to like break some jewelry, but then come back and kiss her awake, but then vanish, and we never see this person again.
Importantly, her quote unquote Prince Charming convinces her father to marry her as a comatose woman, saying like, well, she's alive, we can still get married,
right? I don't need to kiss her, wake her up. Yeah.
And then they basically go on this increasingly aggressive takeover of the rest of the world, bringing it to somewhat of an apocalypse.
Yes. So that's the little bit at the beginning. They have like this fairy tale-esque version at the beginning. And the difference is he doesn't choose to kiss her awake. Instead, he goes on a campaign of war. And a lot of time passes. I don't know that 100 years passes.
Mm-hmm.
She is awoken as a skeleton, but apparently is alive, and then goes about. Here, I'll make this little.
But she like very quickly starts to look better, especially when like she drinks.
Yeah,
I mean, she still looks haggard, which she should, but like she heals up fairly quickly from a literal skeleton.
Totally. She goes about eating all sorts of things and then throwing stuff up. Yeah. Then she finds a campfire where there's this like dead person with a sword. I don't know how the fire got started. And then apparently he died fighting off these giant rats or rodents of unusual size.
Yeah, ROUSs. I don't think they exist.
And she picks up the sword, fights them off, kills them, and then eats them.
Skins one of them.
Yep.
And drinks their blood.
And continues on her journey, trying to figure out what happened while she was gone. She ends up at
she's also afraid to go back to sleep.
Yes. Well, yeah. So she ends up at a tavern and just needs sustenance, and slavers capture her and this I think it's a female creature
they call them ice bloods,
and the two of them are sort of taken off to be sold, and that's where you see that she doesn't want to sleep. She's scared of falling asleep, scared of what it might mean to never wake up again. This bit with the skin here where she's like talking to the skinwalker, I don't know that I fully understood.
No, but also like that I feel like it wasn't supposed to be something you understand at this point. I feel like it's supposed to be like some foreshadowing.
Yes. Then they're going along further. The slavers are carrying them off to presumably sell them, and let's see. They're attacked while they're underway. These creature things attack them and kill the slavers. You liked Vanish Chaos? You got to get out of here. And they kind of get left behind by the warring tribe of creatures who don't really care to set them free,
but also don't care to take them.
Yeah, don't want them at all. The elf girl breaks them out, unlocks their cages
magically.
I mean, yeah, somehow,
because she pops the lock without using the key, her own lock.
They hike through the desert a ways further and find a tent with this weird bald guy living in it. He seems to have like some desire to have some magical power where he's trying to read her fortune in some way, and he decides to kill her. I don't know why.
Well, but he seemingly is about to kill her. But
yes. But then the elf girl does some kind of magic and makes him kill himself.
So
it seems
possibly. Well, okay. So first of all, the reason why he even gets the dagger to begin with is because he realizes who she is and says like basically the prophecy says that when you come back, it's going to be the end of the world.
Yes.
But my question was, did the ice blood actually do something, or did it just look like he was going to kill her but was just about to kill himself anyway?
It seems with that way his arms or her arms are outspread here that she's doing something.
Yeah. I didn't know if she was just like diving in front of her. It's I think like purposefully ambiguous.
Okay. And then convinces her that they need to go on this journey together and find the fairy godmothers. And so they hike off, and then we get a giant map, and it's all kind of done.
Love maps.
I love maps too. I just wish I cared about this one here at the end. So that's the end of Briar. I feel like it suffers from a lot of the same issues that Vanish suffered from.
I will say not to quite to the same degree, because it didn't feel as heavy, but it was certainly as dense. Like they introduced a lot of ideas in this first issue, but I was more interested in the story because I don't know why. I mean, it still like was not as good as I think it possibly could be or could end up being. But yeah, I agree. I had the same thought.
Is it possible you liked it more for the same reason I did, which was the artwork?
Beautiful.
It was really, really great.
Yeah. I mean, that helps.
That was the best part for me. And it's Herman Garcia. I just think really had a great way with pacing. So that even like silent sequences, like the person waking her up, had great tempo to them. And then, of course, I think just the graphic visual of it all, I think he does a great job with a lot of the look of this place.
Yeah.
I don't think the story is half as good as the art.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, the potential of the story, I think, is there more for me than Vanish, which is why I liked it more.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Like, I feel like I can see this going in a much more interesting direction. Like, as much as I didn't love the first issue, I am more interested in reading more of it than I would be reading Vanish.
Oh, I don't even think it's close. Yeah.
Yeah. I will say, though, I'm going to be very mad if I do continue to read this, and the payoff is that this is all her coma dream.
You think that's a possibility?
I mean, anything's possible.
I'm more curious about the person who kissed her awake. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that that's going to be a thing later.
Obviously. TJ says we're the opposite of an influencer.
That's fair.
A defluencer? I don't know what that would be. Let's see. Was Chrissy in here? Did I miss Chrissy? There's Roscoe. What's up, Roscoe? Let's see here. Anybody else that I missed? It feels like the first episode of a Netflix series. I mean, I guess. Seems like some people that really enjoyed it. They like the twist of the Sleeping Beauty story. There's option news. You could see that happening. Let's see. Chaos is going to check the trade when the trade drops. For me, I feel like there's way too much plot and exposition crammed into this book.
Yeah, I was thinking about, like, I almost want to say that the narration held it back. However, unless you like totally reformatted the way you told the story, it needs the narration. But the narration was heavy.
Yeah,
like I feel like it could have done a lot more without it.
Well, but you've also got an issue where the whole book covers so much ground.
Yeah,
you have like the original fairy tale at the beginning. You got somebody coming along and waking her. You've got her journey to recovering from this epic slumber, battling the rats, finding her way to the tavern,
introducing a new species,
a new character, friend,
and not only a new
villains.
species, but like the kind of politics of the relationship of humans to these ice bloods, and clearly like
race relations.
Racism and yeah.
Then you got the slavers taking them. Then this like long slog through the desert, Lawrence of Arabia style. Then you have the like being set free kind of by these tribal people. Then you got the guy with the knife and the prophecy, and then this weird conversation between the two girls at the end, and then the map. It just felt like how much of this there were so many times reading the book where I just wanted it to be done. I was like,
that's not a glowing review.
It's not. I was like, God, there's a ton more to this. Like, I wish they could have zeroed in on just like, what if this single issue was just her waking famished and her journey to finding sustenance? Like that would have been such a better issue. And I didn't need the tavern guys and the slavers and like she should have been in the second issue. Her friend should have been in the second issue. It was just too much.
Not that like you should assume people know anything, but I think most people have a general understanding of the story of Sleeping Beauty. So if you're right, like if it started with her saying like, I've been asleep for 100 years, my prince never woke me up, and then the guy wakes her up, and the issue is her kind of just like trying to survive and find water and food while she kind of recounts some of what she knows, and then by the end, have some sort of reveal or some sort of hook that brings you back to the second issue. But
you push her into civilization. Now she's actually running into other living people.
Yeah,
what's going to happen in the next issue when I just feel like
where she sees, like she goes back to her castle and sees that it's in ruins.
So there's elements of this story in a lot of books that I've read lately. I think Eve, which was a Boom Studios book, I think, had a similar concept of a sleeping beauty waking up kind of thing. This young girl. You had that book Origins, which I thought was a phenomenal sci-fi book. I don't know if enough people read, but the similar idea of a character sort of waking from a slumber and being watched over, and these characters like could become the ruin or the saving of their universe kind of stuff. I just felt like those other books handled this material a lot better for me.
Yeah. I mean, the artwork made me turn the page a lot more enthusiastically than the writing. I'll say that.
I was really happy when I got pages that were no talking.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is going to be
or better. Like the people in the desert who spoke in some like cryptic font.
Yeah, just text. Yeah.
Which, like, I get why comics do that, but it doesn't make any sense. Like, logically. Like, unless they're speaking with voice boxes that are not akin to humans in any way,
right,
they would still be using the same sounds that we use as with our alphabet.
Instead of just speaking in symbols somehow.
Yeah. But I get that it's like a way to visually represent that this is a completely foreign sound they're making.
Instead of having actually create the language, they're not Tolkien, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I don't want to read another issue unless people start telling me that this is so amazing I need to read the trade. I'm probably going to skip any more Briar. That's just me. I'd give this like a 6.
Yeah, I'm at like 6.5, maybe a 7 for the art, but
yeah, it's the best drawn in my opinion of the 3 books that we're primarily focusing on tonight. The artwork is that good.
Yeah, without question.
So yeah, if Chaos tells me that this is an amazing trade read, and then I'll definitely consider picking that up. But I'm not getting another issue.
Yeah, I think it's fair.
Which leaves us with, I don't know how to pronounce this one.
It's True Cult, because in the heavy metal community, it is kind of hip to use V's as U's.
What about the KC thing?
KC?
Instead of a cult with a C, it's a K?
Oh, because Ks are cool, like Mortal Kombat.
So, yeah, I got the cover that reminded me a little of Shadecraft. I don't know if anybody's... That was a really good comic book.
I don't know where my copy is right now, but I got a different one because it was the only one they had.
This book reminded me a lot of like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels meets Clerks. It's like...
Sure.
It's a fast food worker who decides he's got a perfect idea to rob a ton of the shops in the same shopping center as him. He's got an alibi and a whole thing set up, and it just sort of shows him sloppily going through and committing all these robberies and
getting like $112.
Yeah,
like he gets chump change.
Yeah, like nothing. He works his way all the way back to where his restaurant is, stashes the money in his the boot of his car, goes in where he's supposed to be interviewing a possible...
Skip something very important. Or are you going to double back on that?
I mean, I was going to get to the details of it in a bit.
Keep going then.
He makes his way back, and he's supposed to interview a new person for a possible employment opportunity. And he gets back, and he's interviewing them, and then the cops come in, and they're asking some questions. And it seems to set up this challenge between him and this new employee who was sitting in the parking lot nervous for her interview, and basically watched him commit the crime, watched him do the whole thing, watched him do everything, and is completely aware, but also not interested apparently in telling the cops, because the cops she sends them in a completely different direction.
Right. Like she doubles down on what he is saying and says, "Oh, I think I saw this while I was in the parking lot."
And then after the cops leave, these other guys come in, because apparently one of the items that he stole at the last second when he decided to rob a delivery truck of some kind,
like a FedEx truck or something,
was a parcel And this parcel has like basically the Necronomicon from Evil Dead. It has a cult satanic Bible, and the Satanists want it back. And that's kind of the end. Did I get it? Did I do it all right?
Yeah, more or less.
Okay. There's little things like he's stupid enough to go into one shop without his mask on, and
just kind of forgets to put it on.
He just forgets. And the guy running that shop is so damn high,
right?
He doesn't he doesn't notice. Shop. Yeah. So there's little things like that along the way.
It definitely had a sense of humor. Like it's
very much so.
It is not like a serious comic at all.
And so I thought it had a style and humor. It's all its own. It reminded me of other things, whether it was Evil Dead or Clerks. For me though, as much as I liked some of that stuff, it still didn't amount to a whole lot. Like I liked the character well enough, the lead character, and I do think they spent a fair amount of time setting him up at least, which is good. But all the periphery characters aren't given anything.
Yeah, I mean, all the periphery characters at this point are just like foils, right? They're just there to facilitate the story, with possibly the exception of the interviewee, because she is like very much presented as like a carbon copy of him.
Yeah, his equal.
Right. Like, and she is very much like him in a lot of ways. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't disagree. Like, the story is not like the most unique, interesting thing, but in direct comparison to what I was saying about Vanish, despite this guy not being a good person, you still care about his journey because they set him up as a human being. They set him up as a three-dimensional character who has motivations and reasoning behind what he's doing. And, he has foibles and like, he's in this dead-end job that we can, a lot of people can relate to. And so like that, I think they did very successfully. Like you were saying, they created him as a character that you want to hear his story a lot more than what Vanish did.
Oh, absolutely. And again, I think it's because they zeroed in on this one day, this one afternoon, and it was all focused inside. Even though the story skipped around somewhat, it did it in a way that was really the present moment was highlighted, and who he was in the moment and the choices he made in the moment kind of like drew character personality traits out of him. And I love the way he describes the plan and what he's doing. Like
he's so proud of it.
He's so enthusiastic, and and yet as a reader, you're hearing him describe his heist and you're like,
this is idiocy.
This guy's an idiot. Yeah. Like, holy crap. He's so proud of his moronic plan that you're just like, oh my God, I hope he doesn't get caught, this poor idiot. Like, I feel bad for him. Almost. Yeah. Which is a great way to like draw you into his drama.
Exactly. Like if he were this master criminal, I wouldn't care as much about it. But because he's a schlub, doesn't do anything, like literally nothing correctly in this plan that he's been working on for months, if not years. I forget what he says, but
he seems to have really spent time on it.
Yeah. And even the fact that like he doesn't execute it well, and like we said, he gets basically no money out of the whole thing. Like
he might pay a half of his rent for 1 month.
Yeah, maybe.
Because I mean, it's just
he's not running away with the money.
They give you like a running tally as he goes along.
Like each story stops at, it's like one of them is literally no money at all.
Nothing.
It's like the mattress store or something. Like we're a mattress store. Of course, we don't have any cash.
Right. So many of the employees are like, sure, I don't care.
Yeah,
like
whatever.
So many of the employees in the shopping center just have great attitudes about being robbed.
Yeah. They're not getting paid enough to care.
And then the cops have a great bit too when they come to the restaurant to ask questions, because they're like, They said that the killer smelled of fried food and pickles or
Yeah.
something like this. It's like, so this, we came here first.
Right.
So good.
I also thought it was a funny little setup where they did that like brief flashback where they set up like the church people coming in, and the owner's like, get out of here, we don't want solicitors. And those church people turn out to be from this satanic church.
The Satanists.
So I thought that was funny.
Which gave me Big Lebowski vibes. We're nihilists. We believe in nothing.
Yeah.
Like it had that vibe. Personally, I really hope that this book doesn't actually use black magic or anything like that. I want it to stay grounded.
Grounded in reality.
Do you know? Like I'm worried it'll go science fiction-y on me, or
and I had that thought as well, especially like because I feel like the interviewee is some sort of guardian angel type of thing.
Ooh, so you think she's got power?
I don't like. I feel like there's something going on with her. Like it was too. Their whole interaction was too unusual for it to just be coincidence, I guess.
Right.
And especially for the fact that she, lies to the police to get him off when she has literally nothing to gain by doing that, other than, interrupting her job interview.
Right.
At a fast food place that she is for some reason especially passionate about working at.
Yeah, she seems like she is not the kind of person you'd find working in a fast food joint.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe you're right that the story implies a necessity for the fantasy elements. I just really love how grounded it is.
Yeah,
and
me too.
I would be it would be tragic if this story got so out of hand that it was like living in this fantasy realm, because it's the reality that's been making it such the parts I've enjoyed have been the reality based pieces.
But having said all that, like, despite it being seemingly a simple, base layer kind of like story, there is a lot of possible depth to it, which I liked, where it was not like beating you over the head with all of these things of like, oh, this is happening and this is happening and this is happening all at once. You got to pay attention to all of it. But it's kind of just like more like, it focused on the moment of him committing these robberies, but at the same time setting up these other avenues of possible expansion in story. So
yeah, I think because the universe felt so like lived in, like it didn't feel artificial in any way. There are a lot of these, like his coworker, I think, was kind of funny in her little moments that we got to see with her. Not the woman he was interviewing, but there's another female character that works with him.
Works there already, yeah.
And I think that she has a good rapport with him as well.
Yeah.
And
they seem like they have that like relationship of two people who work together for a long time.
Right. Gore says like Jennifer Connelly and career opportunities. That's high praise. So overall, I would probably give this one a 7.5. I think that's kind of where I came out. I did enjoy this conversation a little bit more than the comic, I will say.
Oh, wow.
So it definitely convinced me to get another issue of this and not wait for the trade.
Yeah. My number was closer to like probably 8.5, just because I found it so amusing. Like it wasn't like a masterwork by any means. So I'm kind of hesitant to kind of go above an 8, but not even in comparison. Like I enjoyed reading it.
Yeah, it was definitely like enjoyable,
fun.
For sure. Yeah,
it was a fun time, and sometimes like that's all I want from a comic book, and it delivered. Like I didn't know what to expect going into it, but like very quickly it sets the tone.
Yes,
like you don't have to question about like where are we going with this? What am I supposed to be thinking? Like it's just like, hey, this is a romp. Sit back, get your popcorn.
Yeah, exactly. So there you go. I'm assuming you're going to get another one of these.
Yeah, for sure. It has to be a mini series. I assume I'll probably stick with it.
Yeah,
unless it
so
really drops off.
I don't know if I mentioned it's from IDW. So if you're looking for that book, it's an IDW book.
Interestingly, IDW has been the last couple months have been starting to put out a lot more non franchise titles. You know, they do like Transformers, G.I. Joe, Ninja Turtles, and all that, but
a lot of stuff I'd say is for younger kids, or at least based on young kid nostalgia.
Yeah. But they've started putting out kind of more like Image Boom style creator pieces. So there's another one that I picked up called Crashing, about a hospital in Boston, which was pretty good, but didn't like knock my socks off. So I didn't feel the need to tell you to get it.
Okay.
IDW has lost the Hasbro books. Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, I hadn't heard that. There's Spider dropping some facts. Thank you.
So that's probably why they're scrambling to get some more properties out there. Oh,
moderate the
69 mega.
There you go. Blocked. Although I think Tony's got a wrench. He can slap somebody. The Trek books. I haven't read a Star Trek comic book in years. So there's been some good ones. Is it one ongoing series aggressively, or is it like the way Marvel does Star Wars, where there's like a million?
I know they have like their main one is like Year 5, I think it's called.
Okay.
But they do have
4 issues. Crowdfunded. Boom.
There you
go.
So 4 issues, yeah, for sure. I'll stick with it.
Then yeah, I might do
even if issue 2 or even if issue 2 or 3 isn't. I don't
know that I can do that in here. Sorry, my bad. I did just hit 1700, so I do need a new wrench. So Tony, hey, you're in the chat. Let's make some magic.
Congratulations, Tony.
What were you saying?
Get ready to be blued.
What were you saying about?
I was saying, like, even if issue 2 or 3 is like kind of disappointing, if it's only 4 issues, I'll just stick with it and see how it ends. Because I like this enough that I'm like, okay, for 4 issues, I'll definitely. See, that's your problem, Old Wolf. He says, I've been hinting for 2 years. You need to hit John with a blunt object, metaphorically.
Like a wrench?
Yeah. That's where I was going with that.
All right. There you go, my man. Let's see if that works. He says that hasn't said anything. All right. So hopefully I blew you. Do you want to discuss a book that you and I have both been reading? And that had its final issue, because we don't discuss a lot of final issues. Nope. Did I freeze or did okay?
No, yeah. I'm sorry, I was reading the chat.
Okay. Because I feel like what dawned on me reading a bunch of number ones the last month was that I don't read enough final issues that pay off a series. Yeah. You know what I mean? That I'm happy with.
Which is insanity, considering like most of them are miniseries, where you would think that they have the story mapped out from when they start issue 1. Right. So they should have a well-considered ending, in my opinion.
I mean, considering how many indies take breaks before the finale now, like they do a few issues and they take a break and then they do, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like there should be something locked and loaded, but I don't know. What's up, Eddie? Good to see you, sir. So I've been talking a lot about the enjoyment I've been getting from Rick Remender's Righteous Thirst for Vengeance, which I think is finished. I don't hear any news of like a second arc or anything that.
I mean, it very much feels like an ending.
Right? So this is issue, was it 11?
10?
Or 10? Okay.
I think I have it right here.
The first trade paperback is available.
11. You're right, 11.
If you want to read the first trade. The second trade is forthcoming, but they have finished the storyline as far as I needed it to. What were your thoughts on how Righteous Thirst for Vengeance finished?
Pretty interestingly. So the previous issue ends with the kind of main character guy dying, and the kid that he is helping save then reappears 10 years later in the last issue, because it jumps ahead with, you know, this guy being sent to jail, not the kid, guy being sent to jail, but he's at like Club Med on crack, like,
right,
or Club Med rather, where it's just like Olympic-sized swimming pools, and he has like, you know, access to movies, and like it's basically just a vacation for him.
right.
And the kid, now grown up, either poses as a guard or has a job as a guard.
It's hard to say,
but
it seemed like I got the sense that he was like paying somebody off to get in there, but I loved it.
But basically it's a Epstein situation, right? Like where he goes in there and makes it look like he hung himself in order to like exact revenge on this guy.
To get that righteous thirst for vengeance.
Right. But then the last couple pages is, for me, what really sold this as an ending.
Yeah.
Where he's driving off with his kind of getaway driver, I guess, for lack of a better term. And they're just driving through like this beautifully serene forest landscape. And then it just kind of like concentrates on this little bird singing a song. And it kind of like shows that there is now peace in his life now that this is finally all over. At least that's how I took it.
Well, and it tied in beautifully with the dying bird in the first issue.
The first issue, yeah.
I thought it was a beautiful way to dovetail back towards where the issue, because I remember reading issue 1, and you and I both were like, this is really good. Like, I love the pacing of this and the odd quirkiness of it. And I knew people that hated Righteous Thirst and thought it was boring, that nothing was happening. And the confidence of somebody like Remender and the talent of somebody like Andre Lima Araujo, to be able to plant a seed like that and play on that all the way to the end, and then make it's like what was dead is now living again. Like, it was just really well done.
To exactly the point I was just saying, this does exactly that, where clearly they had the whole thing realized before they started it, because the end felt very appropriate for how it started.
Yes.
Yeah. Just I loved this series so much from start to finish.
And for those that haven't read it, don't know what it's about, it's a very simple story focusing on just a couple of characters, 2-3 characters.
Yeah. It's basically any Korean movie ever.
And not a ton of dialogue, mostly visuals, excessive violence. In fact, there's a torture issue where the whole issue is basically a naked guy strapped to a chair getting tortured. And it's riveting in the sense of like the best Coen brothers movie.
Yeah.
Like, you just feel like you don't know what's going to happen at any second. It takes great twists and turns. It's just a good, solid noir story that would make a great 11-issue hardcover or whatever.
Yeah, I'll buy it for sure.
So I really just want to recommend, if somebody's looking for something, if they're noir fans, you like Brubaker or whatever, Rucka. I know that Gore mentioned Rucka earlier, mentioning some books that are on hiatus or going to end. If you like those kind of stories, I think that, Coen Brothers-esque, I think you could get a lot of joy out of something like this. And thank you, Air Spider, for dropping the publicity for what IDW is going through. Yeah, didn't need the wrench. It would make a great movie, but also, to Alec's point, like, it's a comic that doesn't feel like it was made to be a show or a movie. It was made as a comic, and it works in the comic medium without needing any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Certainly could be translated into something like that.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
it works perfectly as is.
Like any Korean movie ever. But I mean, it like, if you want to see this story in a movie, like, check out Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance or Old Boy or The Man from Nowhere. Like, there's so many, like, revenge plots in Korean cinema is a big subgenre. So like the initial layer of the plot is not anything original. Like, it's just a guy getting revenge for the misdeeds of someone who is, like, you know, powerful or whatever. But the devil's in the details in this. Like, it is so well considered within that bubble, which is why I really liked it.
And yeah, and what makes it rise above the simple concept that it's at is the desire from the creators to take the time to let these characters breathe. And when they do, and when you have moments like the commune where they're living on the commune, you get the real sense of who they are and their troubled lives and where and what they're dealing with, so that when the violence hits, because the violence comes abrupt, it hits with abrupt like energy. You are genuinely concerned for what's going to happen because you're so invested because of those issues where there is no violence and you don't know when it's going to happen.
Of the calm versus the storm,
which is again a Coen Brothers thing for me. Like, you know, where you're watching a sequence in a Coen Brothers movie and you're laughing, it's so odd and quirky, and all of a sudden a gun goes off and you're just like, what is going on? Like, the violence can come on so shockingly that it really, the fact that they took the time, the patience to get involved in these characters' lives in a way that doesn't feel rushed or forced, you instantly are hooked for what's going to happen to them. And that torture issue, I had to read it like 3 times just because the first time through I was like, oh my god, and then I wanted to see what they were doing
and see how it was actually paced and everything.
It's beautifully done with almost no words except from the torturer. He has a couple of lines, but it's just so magnificently executed. And by that point, like that issue, and then the issue when they find the body, like there's a couple of issues that are ultra violent, and then others where like it's so peaceful, and that is so well, it's just deftly handled.
I mean, spoilers for the end of the year show, but like this will definitely be on my top list.
Absolutely. I'm glad Ignacio and the others are reading it, because I constantly felt like I was the only one talking about this book. And I'm glad I picked it up because I hadn't read much Rick Remender work. Like I've read the first volume trade of the Deadly Class. I've got his Uncanny X-Force, never read it. So I haven't explored a lot of his work. But this was the first one I've done start to finish in one go. I was blown away.
No, really great.
¿Qué onda?
I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. It was great. Very well done.
Oh, is Herminio in here? I didn't see Herminio. Herminio Reyes. Any other books you want to mention? I know we had talked about a few others, but I know we're at the 1 hour mark for September.
Yeah, I mean, the only other one I was thinking about touching on was Old Dog, which I just finished reading.
And I had read it came out last week. Declan Shalvey.
Yeah.
Declan Shalvey. And this is another Image comic. Do you want to do a quick review of it, or?
Meh.
Because that's basically my review right there.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that bothered me the most is maybe I'm just not bright enough to pick up what was going on, but basically it's 2 different timelines where the character is young and old. And the old version of him gets in some sort of accident with this experimental machine, and then he wakes up 8 years later and the machine has made him young again, but then the next page he's old again. And then he's young again, and then he's old again, and it doesn't really explain why he's changing back and forth. So
I felt like it was way too, again, it seemed to fit in nicely with the first few books that we discussed, as far as like way too much,
but at the same time, like,
not enough.
There wasn't really that much. Like, I feel like they just kind of like left out, like they're trying to play coy, but at the same time, like I apologize for using this analogy, but it's like Lost. They're throwing all these questions at you with giving you no answers.
It's funny. I was reminded of Forgetting Sarah Marshall when Paul Rudd's like, "You're doing too much, man. Too much.
Yeah.
You're doing too much.
Just pop up." Well, now you're just laying there. Now it looks like you're boogie boarding. Pop up.
Now you're not doing anything.
Gotta do more than that. Do less.
So yeah, I am not interested in getting another issue of that. So
no, I mean, like, it was cool. Like, the art's nice.
Yeah, I mean, he's a talented artist, and I want to say I've read another book by him, but I felt similarly disinterested.
Yeah.
I don't know. Also, 8 Billion Genies finished the first arc. Yeah, and I will say my biggest frustration was the fact that it implied that this is going to be an ongoing in some way. Like, I just really wanted an ending.
Yeah. It says, still says that was 8 on the cover, doesn't it?
5 of 8. There you go. So maybe I'll be happy that there's only a few left. I wanted a concise finale. That's what I
mean. They might end up doing like 9 billion genies. You know what I mean? Like, they might do like a follow-up series, but as far as I know, they're still planning on ending this run at 8.
Yes.
But because it's so popular, I have no doubt they're going to keep something going.
I mean, there's money to be made, right?
Yeah.
What would we think about 20th Century Men? It's a wordy book. I mean, I certainly read. I mean, I've been working my way through Strangers in Paradise, and that's not a casual read.
There are literal pages of prose in Strangers in Paradise, like,
right. I just feel like it's how do they use it, right?
Exactly.
The way Remender and Araujo use the lack of language in Thirst for Vengeance, and the way that Strangers in Paradise uses, scads of conversation and dialogue, I think speak to the subject and the talent involved and the knowledge that this is what the story needs.
Sure, because using sparse language can be just as much of a hindrance as using too much language. Like, either way, you have to do it well for it to work. But yeah, I'm not opposed to like wordy books if it's interesting words.
Right. I mean, I loved Die, and I felt like it was constantly wall to wall, like information, a lot of discussion. Yeah. So that's it for September for me. Next time, October, we'll look back at books on Alec's channel. So make sure you click the link down below, and maybe we'll talk about what is it? I grabbed the new one from the artist behind Deadly Class, issue number 1 of Kaya.
I don't know.
Sure. So that could be a book that it drops this week, and that might be something we talk about next time. I saw that 8 is enough, dad joke. I saw you. I don't want to time you out, Air Spider.
That's a real dad joke, because only people dad age would get that.
This is true.
Although I'm saying that as a 40-something-year-old man who doesn't realize that people 15 years younger than me could legitimately not irresponsibly be fathers right now.
It's fair.
Yeah.
Anything coming up that you want to mention? Any shows you got coming up? Anything you're doing?
We got D&D on JP's channel Sunday nights, and I'm doing Usagi Yojimbo with him. We're doing the last volume of the first Fantagraphics run, hopefully in a couple weeks. So keep an eye out for that.
Nice. Let's see. What do I got coming up? I know I'm going to be on a few different channels coming up in the next week. So look for me on Mr. Comics 89's channel at some point. I'm doing something over there. A few weeks ahead, I think I'm on TM Nerdy's channel at some point doing a show for him. So there's a few different people I'm hanging out with doing stuff. Sector 815, I think I'm doing 2815. I'm doing something with him. So there's lots of little channels I'm hanging out with. I'll try to put them on my community tab so you can spot them if you're not subscribed to those people. This week marks the anniversary for me and the Saturday morning show with my girls. So hopefully we'll find some way to celebrate Saturday, even though we've got a super early soccer game. So maybe after the soccer game, we'll come back and do a slightly later version of our show just to kind of celebrate with you all. I think it's in 2 weeks from Saturday, I'm using my Saturday show to help raise funds for cancer, to fight cancer, not to support cancer.
I would hope not. That's a bold take.
Somebody needs to support these people. So C3, Comics Curing Cancer, is back. And instead of doing a 24-hour live stream that they did last time, they're doing a weekend-long series of streams on a variety of different channels and sort of hopping from one to the next. Each channel will be dropping the links to the fundraiser so you can raise money for certain things. And you can be entered into giveaways by using that link and supporting the cause. So plan on us doing a nice long Saturday morning show one of these days. I think it's in 2 weeks from Saturday, because we will be part of the Saturday kickoff crew for that.
Follow John on TikTok.
I mean, I haven't been making enough there, but I've been dropping the fun ones over on Instagram.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Daryl's here. We're gonna leave now, Daryl. So watch the rewind, click the like button or whatever, and we'll see you guys all again in a month over on Alec's channel. All right. Bye.
Bye.